It's exactly 2:01, and we're going to be starting, though we're 1 minute late. Good afternoon once again, and thank you all for joining in. You're welcome to yet another Tele-Education Series session of Farmalert. We're having a farmer session today, and I promise you, and I assure you of value for the kind of information you'll be taking home today. For every farmer, we know that the chicks in this instance is just like the seed. The quality of seed you're going to be using to plant, say you're a crop farmer. So you would want to learn and unlearn and relearn. Or should I say you're going to unlearn and then you're going to relearn so that you avoid making costly mistakes. You're welcome once again. My name is Dr. Tumsia Maimuna Man Isa, and I will be your facilitator for this session today. We've all seen the flyer, we've seen the caliber of hub experts we'll be having on the session today. So relax and have your pen and your papers ready to take a lot of valuable information home, and then also ask your questions, raise your concerns, and make sure you have your questions answered to avoid making mistakes. Thank you again. So I'll take us through the agenda for the day, and we can start. Next slide, please. So from the agenda here, the session will be lasting for 90 minutes, though it depends on how interesting it gets, but then we'll try as much as possible to stay within the allocated time, so we can all go back to our activities for the rest of the day. So there will be introductions for 3 minutes by myself, a brief about Farmalert, a brief about Project Tekla, and we're going to also have a pre-quiz. So a pre-quiz basically is just a short test. The name implies a quiz, asking you questions about this presentation you're yet to hear. So we want to know, we want to evaluate your knowledge before you're exposed to the new knowledge you'll be acquiring today, and then we'll move into the main presentation. So the pre-quiz comes before the presentation, and then we have a post-quiz after the presentation. Then we're going to go into the didactic presentation by our one and only Dr. James Babawagetti for 20 minutes, and then an open discussion for all participants, questions and answers for another 40 minutes. We'll move to taking our hub experts recommendation on this topic, our post-quiz summary announcement, and then we can call it a day. So I'll be giving the introduction briefly. So the Tekla leverages which means, Tekla is an acronym, and it means Tele-Education for clinicians and leaders in Africa. It leverages the ECHO model, and these are the 4 pillars, literally holding the ECHO model. So we use, the Tekla uses video conference technology to leverage scarce healthcare resources, specialists sharing best practices with colleagues, case-based learning, and continuous monitoring of the program outcomes. So this is a logo of our partners. We have the Farmalert logo, we have MDOC, we have Making More Health, Boehringer Ingelheim, and Ashoka Africa. Please take note, Project Tekla Africa leverages the ECHO model, as I mentioned earlier. We collect registration, participation, questions and answers, chat comments, and poll responses for our programs. Your individual data will be kept confidential and handled by authorized personnel. This data may be used for reports, maps, communications, surveys, quality assurance, evaluation research, and to also inform new initiatives. This session is recorded, and we will be sharing a PDF version of the slides via the email you registered with after the session. Thank you. These are a few tips to make sure you enjoy the session. Please have your camera on. We'd love to see your handsome and beautiful faces. The facilitator will unmute you when you need to speak. And then please make sure you use the raise hand feature in the Zoom when you want to speak, so you can be unmuted. And then kindly use the chat function for any questions, comments, or suggestions. We have people designated specifically to extract your questions and your comments. Thank you very much. And so I will be calling on Dr. Femi Kayode, who is the CEO of Farmalert Limited. So you're smiling already, to give us a brief of Farmalert, and then we can move to the next item on the agenda, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Tumsia.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Happy and very excited to share our story and, of course, our journey. And thank you, Dr. Tumsia, for anchoring this very well and sharing your wealth of experience that with the farmers that we have on board today. So Farmalert, we've come a long way. We're a very strong team of animal health professionals with just one goal, to enable easy access to affordable animal health care. Most of the farmers that we have in Nigeria, in Africa generally, are mostly impoverished by the lack of support that they have regarding their livestock. We have instances where farmers lose almost all their stocks for very simple idea that, if well communicated or if they have learned earlier, could have saved them a lot. So we've made it our long life mission to ensure that we do a peer-to-peer review network among farmers, bring farmers together, bring professionals also, who are also a critical part of this whole discussion, to see how we can rub minds together, throw ideas here and there, ultimately have our what we do to be on a progressive path. So I have no doubt what Dr. Tumsia has put together with our very brilliant and, of course, very popular hub experts that we have today. I have no doubt you'll be learning a lot. Keep an open mind. Your pen, your jotter, and of course a concentrated mind will be all you need to have yourself well satisfied with what Farmalert is offering you today. Thank you, and then please enjoy the session.
Thank you very much, Dr. Femi. And then we'll have a brief about Project Tekla by somebody from the MDOC team. We have Olabisi on the call. We have Mariam. So I don't know if Adora is on the call, but the MDOC team, the floor is yours.
Okay, hello everyone. Yes, I think I'm able to unmute now. Hello everyone, it's nice to be here. My name is Olabisi Dabiri and I work with Adora, whose name is up there, to co-lead our Tekla project. What we set out to do with Tekla was to help upskill and train healthcare providers. And we had run a pilot last year, and we're happy to have Farmalert as one of our hubs in the test of scale phase. I think as we, sort of walk through improving healthcare across the globe, there's a need to look at the intersection between human health and animal health, right? And how that fits into the global public health goals. So we're happy to have Farmalert, and they've been doing fantastic work. And we're looking forward to the session as well. So thank you so much, Femi and Tumsia.
All right, thank you very much, Olabisi. So I hope we've heard the brief about Tekla, and we'll move to the next item on the agenda, which is the pre-quiz, which is going to last for just 3 minutes. As I stated earlier, there are just a few set of questions you're going to be answering anonymously, so nobody's going to see your name or any data related to you. It's just going to help us gauge, knowledge gained and before and after the presentation. So they're basically the same set of questions. We're going to be having it for the next 3 minutes. Can we have the polls up, please? So you have the questions on your screen. You can start attempting to answer the questions. The poll will be ending exactly 3 minutes from now, and we can move to the presentation itself. So I implore each and every one of us to please attempt to answer the questions. As I stated earlier, your name or anything related to you is not going to show. It's just to help us gauge knowledge and know exactly what we had before and after the session. So thank you. Nobody has attempted. Please Let me use the word please. You can all, okay, somebody has started. That's good. All right, we have 2 more minutes. I implore each and every one of you to please take the questions. They're simple questions. And I'm sure to you too, you're going to answer the same set of questions after the session. So you're going to, at least to a considerable extent, you're going to be impressed with yourself too. So I implore us to please attempt to answer the questions. Thank you very much. We have 11 people, 25% participation. We can do more. I can see more people answering. More people are coming on. It's going to be up for 3 minutes, as I stated earlier. Oh, wow, we have 17 people. That's really good. That's encouraging and impressive. Thank you once again, everyone, for joining. We have about 46 people in the room and we're expecting more. Okay, we have just a few more seconds to go. We have just 25 people out of 43, out of 47 people. We can do more. They're simple questions. Your name is not going to show up, so you have nothing to fear at all. 30 people. The poll will be down any moment from now. We have 75% participation, which is good. Okay, 80. Now I'm happy. All right, we should be having the questions go down. 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8. Okay, we can have the questions down. We can take down the poll now. We had about 82% participation. That's very good. Can we take the poll down? All right, thank you very much. Next slide, please. Okay, finally, so our hub expert for today, we have Dr. James Babawagetti. Welcome and thank you so much, sir, for sparing out time out of your busy schedule to be with us today, to share from your river, let me use that word, of experience. Dr. James Babawagetti is the General Manager, Sales and Marketing, Adamo Nigeria Limited. Every farmer in Nigeria, I can proudly say that, knows the name Dr. James Babawagetti, and I am not exaggerating. You can't be a poultry farmer and not know this name. Thank you very much, sir. Next slide, and he will be giving the didactic presentation for today. Next slide, please. We have Dr. Usman Omar, who is the Chief Operating Officer, Vetco Livestock Solutions, Kaduna. He's one of our hub experts for today. And I will say, I don't know if it's in Nigeria, but yes, I can also say that everybody knows the name Vetco. You cannot be a vet or a farmer and not know the name Vetco Livestock Solutions. Thank you very much, sir. We're really excited and happy to have you both on board, and we're looking forward, farmers and everyone alike on the group is looking forward to learning from you and taking your recommendations to implement in their farms and make sure they cut losses as a result of cheap mortality. Thank you very much. Dr. James Babawagetti, the floor is yours for the next 20 minutes. I don't know, you want to share your screen from your end, or should we do it from our end?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I think it's better I share from my own.
Okay, you want to share from your end? Okay. Okay, can we stop sharing our screen, please?
Allow me to share.
Good afternoon, sir.
Allow me to share my, okay.
Yes, you can share your screen.
Okay.
So you have the next 20 minutes, sir.
Oh, that's the time you give me 20 minutes?
Yes, sir.
Well, no problem. I'll rush it then, if that's the case. I don't know that.
No problem, sir. We'll try and stay within time.
Okay, no problem. Well,
Yes, sir.
First of all, I want to appreciate Farmalert for giving me this opportunity to share, to cross-fertilize ideas on this topic given to me, that's early chick mortality. So my fellow farmers, you are welcome. And because of the time given to me, I don't want to waste time. Let me go straight to the point. Well, the topic is early chick mortality. We are going to look at it, causes and prevention. And because of the time given to me, I will try to summarize it and combine the causes and prevention together. So, well, for me, let me bring this one. It's blocking my, sorry, let me, sorry. Okay, can you see the slide? Can you see the slide? Hello? Hello, can you hear me?
We can see the slide, sir.
But can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, thank you. Really fast. Early chick mortality, this is a topic we're going to look at it this afternoon. And when you talk of early chick mortality, it's a great loss to the farmer. It is a great loss to the farmer. As such, it is very important to practice a standard farming system to reduce or stop the negative effect of high chick mortality in poultry business. So, so that when there is reduced chick mortality, at the end of the day, it will translate into increased production and sustain or encourage the growth of poultry in Nigeria and the world at large. And if you look at this, I have to be fast because of my time. If you look at this, my map here, or this clock I put there, as a farmer, which side are you going to? Is it profit or loss? And any business farmer enter business because of profit. And if you look at here, and this is what we are going to teach today, this is a farmer that started with 6 day-old chicks. And at the end of the day, he want to have, at the end of the day, he want to have day-old chicks. Not you start with 6 day-olds. At the end of the day, you have 2 day-old chicks because of mortality. No. So today we are going to look at the early chick mortality, and with the help of Farmalert, and after this our afternoon discussion, we are hoping that farmer will go towards profitability in the poultry business. And if you look at the causes of, I don't know what, if you look at the causes of early chick mortality, we have 5 major causes. Though there can be many causes, but for my 28 years of poultry business, I now try to summarize it 4 factors. There are many factors, but for today's topic, and based on my experience, we are looking at 4 factors critically. And number 1, they are what we call internal factors. These internal factors is not controlled, it cannot be controlled by farmer, it's for the hatchery. That's what we call quality day-old chicks. Then we look at external factors. These are management factors that can cause early chick mortalities. And these factors are like high brooding temperature, low brooding temperature, high latent humidity, starvation, inadequate drinkers and feeders, predators, injuries, litter, and so on and so on. Sorry, okay. Then number 3, we have nutritional factors like water, like fat-soluble vitamins and water-soluble vitamins. Then the fourth one is disease factors. And what are the diseases that cause early chick mortality? We look at anaphylactis, florum, aspergillosis, Gumboro disease. Of recent, we have seen chicken anemia virus infection that is causing mortality in farm. But most farms that have Gumboro, it may not be Gumboro, it may be chicken anemia. Though we are working on it. This is a current thing that happened of recent. But I'm not going to discuss on disease factor because of time today now. Then let's look at the internal factor, which is the chick quality. That is at the hatchery level. And when you look at the internal factors, there are three things you have to look at. The biosecurity at the hatchery, the hatching temperature, then the parent stock, especially young, small-sized egg. Because if the hatchery, they try to hatch from small egg, those birds come and die on your farm. I don't have time to detail because of time. I want to rush. Maybe another day we are going to talk detail on this. And look at, let me just pick the young small-sized egg. If you look at young small-sized egg, for broiler, let me take example for broiler. Broiler is supposed to weigh 40 grams. That's the standard all over the world, 40 grams. So if broiler is weighing 40 grams, it is expected that the weight of the egg should be 40. That the weight of the egg, the set incubator should be 60. Because chick, in a standard way, chick should weigh 67 to 69% of the fresh egg. But you see from hatchery, they may hatch a broiler that the eggs are 50 grams. So when the eggs are 50 grams, the chicks will be very small. And at the end of the day, you have high mortality on your farm. And these are examples. This is a farm of research that I consult for. This case is of research, and it's a pullet from one of the reputable hatcheries in Nigeria. And this is what I discover as we box the chicken. I discover in 10 boxes. We have many boxes, so just in 10 boxes, I removed 35 dead birds. And these birds, the farmer already paid 500 naira per pullet. That's the cost of the old chicks, 500. Already in 10 pullets, the farmer has eaten loss for 18,000. And if you look at the chicks closely, all of us are looking at it. If you look at it closely, this is hatchery issue. That's what we call internal factors. This type of thing will die at the farm, but it's not in the control of the farmer, but it's an hatchery. But already it's an early chick mortality on your farm. Look at even the one I circled. If you look at those that I circled, these chicks, if you look at these chicks, it's too small. It may be they just hatch, maybe they collect egg from young parent stock, of which the eggs are too small. There's a standard. That's why we need regulation in this industry. There's a standard weight of chicks, weight of egg that is supposed to set into the incubator to hatch their own chicks. But because we are ignorant in Nigeria, even if the birds are 22 or 24 weeks, they will collect egg and start hatching because there's high demand of their own chicks. And at the end of the day, these chicks will die on your farm, and this will lead to early chick mortality. That's the ethical factor. And that's why sometimes we now advise farmers, the profession, especially the veterinary doctors, from the veterinary doctor side, we advise to prevent this early chick mortality. We advise farmers to evaluate your chicks before brooding. And that you can see from the diagram, you need to microscope your day-old chicks before you start brooding in order to reduce early chick mortality. And the only tools, not the special tool for evaluation, what you need is a scale. You have to weigh your birds. If they are pullets, they're supposed to weigh 35 grams. If they are broiler, they're supposed to weigh 40 grams. By the time you weigh pullets and you're getting 28 grams, 26 grams, you know that something has gone wrong from the parent stock, from the hatchery. So you have to work hard on that. And so apart from the scale, you have to use your 5 senses for evaluation. Use your nose, use your eye, use your ear, and then your brain. These are only tools that you need for evaluation. And for that evaluation, we have come up with a program from Adamo to assist farmers, what we call chick receiving criteria. That's what we call, every farmer or a consultant must have what we call chick receiving criteria in order to prevent early chick mortality from the hatchery. Number one, chick should not weigh less than 30 grams. If it's pullet, and 40 grams receiving criteria. If you now discover that the chick less than 35, or in case of pullet, or 38 in case of broiler, and they are not uniform, you know at the back of your mind that something has gone wrong. Though you cannot return the chicks back to the hatchery, but you can now sit, because you know the problem at hand, you can now sit down and know how to work on the pullets. Let me give you, for example, we collected the old chicks from one of the portable hatchery. And from our civic criteria, we discovered that most of those chicks are 26, 28, 27 grams, instead of 35. So we only know that those chicks are for your parent stock. So we have to formulate our chicken mash. We have to change the formula to be rich for the bird to grow. If we didn't do like that, those birds will die. And we have to work on the breeding temperature, relative humidity to maintain the day. If not, they will die. I'll come to that later. Then chicks shall have a heel navel. How do you know the heel navel? I will show you, but you call a vet doctor. Because not all chicks have heel navel. Because you cannot see the navel with your eyes, unless if the chicks badly severe, but they are poor. You cannot see it. That's why you need your eyes, you need your hand to do that one. Then chicks should not be dehydrated. If all the chicks should not be dehydrated, that the temperature in the incubator is too, or the too high, or they keep the chicks too long at their own store, or the people that transport the chicks, he transports on long, he maybe the baby spot on the road, or he brings another farm, or makes hold up, and the chick becomes dehydrated. If you don't evaluate, don't know what to do, the chicks will die. The more you even give the drug, the more they will die. That means by the time you do your criteria and you discover that chicks are dehydrated, you don't give feed. You try to hydrate the pullets by using caprolite. There's a product called caprolite. It's a recent multivitamin for chicks that has entered the market, or use glucose to hydrate them. And chicks should not have deformity. Chicks' eyes should be bright, and chicks shall be alert, active, and response. What do you mean the active and response? Is that as we place the chicks either on deep litter or inside the cage, you can get some chicks are sensitive to color, that is red and green. You can use red color paper, cut it into tiny pieces, and drop it on the floor at the time you unbox your bag. If you see the chicks rush the red color, that means they're active. If you say they're not rushing the color, that means something has gone wrong for the hatchery. You know what to do. Or sometimes you can put the chicks on their back. If it takes more than 10 seconds for them to go back to the back, it shows that the chicks is weak, that they're dehydrated. These are what we call chick receiving criteria. And then this chick receiving criteria, there's another thing also that we call chick quality and how to judge. This is professional. And we advise farmers that always call your vet to come and assess your bird before brooding to prevent early chick mortality. And we have 5 things to judge the old chicks. Visual, like I said, use your eye. Body weight, use a scale. Your free body mass is only by a professional. I don't have to explain here. Chick length is only by a professional. This chick length, by the time a vet doctor comes to your farm and do chick length with just ruler, he will be able to tell you even the age of the parent stock. He will be telling you. He can tell you what has gone wrong with the bird. We just touch the ruler. It's a science now. Then I would call naval scoring. We shall call our professional to do that work. That's what we are doing now all over. These are the visual scoring. Make sure no red hooks. Chicks are active, quick to respond, naval heel, uniform chick flu, even temperature. You have to measure if you're a big farm, get a thermometer and measure the temperature of the chicks. That will even tell you what's the temperature of the chicks. I have to be fast because of my time. I've explained this one. Put chicks at the back. If they are sluggish, turn back onto the leg. That means there's something has gone wrong at the hatcher. Either the way they are vaccinating them, they roast them. Either the way they put them inside carton, they uproot them, or the driver also pack plenty inside one car, and the chick, they are weak. By the time you discover like that, such birds, you don't give them feed on arrival. What you do, rehydrate them, let them stabilize with cool water before, if you don't give medication, if you give drug at this stage, such birds will even die the more. So these are what we are doing to prevent early chick mortality. Look at visual scoring, look at the hoop. If you see red like this, and if you look at the beak also, maybe 1 or 2 that you may likely see it. Look at red here, look at here. If you see red, and you see red on the hoof, just take note. It may be, sorry, somebody, it may be, when you see something like that, it showed that there was high temperature in the incubator, or high relative humidity in the incubator, and that's what prompted of this one. So that will tell you that, okay, when there's high temperature, let me put my phone on silent. 2 minutes. Okay. So that will even give an idea, okay, these things, they are dehydrated. So quickly give caprolite before you start anything. I'll explain this one. Look at a farm. These are some of the farms I discovered. This is a broiler farm. It's about 60,000. Look at the birds now. Look at deformity. Look at the red. This is my hand. Look at the red here. So if you look at the chicks, they are even dehydrated. So the moment I discovered this one like this, I put them on caprolite for 3 days. No antibiotics. So it's stabilized. If I have not do the evaluation and just be giving them drug or this, those guys will even die the more because they are dehydrated. So after I hydrate the birds back with caprolite, that people contain good vitamin and they stabilize. Look at what you call naval scoring. I just show you there's no time. You can see my hand. This is our farm. This is ordinary, you will not see it ordinary because the fed the plume could close it. This is the vent, this is a naval. It could have closed it. But if you use water or oil to remove this side, the navel is supposed to be healed. But this bird now, the navel is not healed. You can see that the navel is black. So that means the yolk has not been properly absorbed, and there's opening, and equally can enter. Before you know it, there'll be mortality here. Oh, sorry. Oh. Before you know it, there'll be mortality in such a. Sorry, let me open my phone that's disturbing me here. Okay. Before you know it, mortality. So most of them don't know this one. This is what you call naval scoring. So you call your professional to do it for you. There's what you call score 1, score 2, score 3, score 4, score 5. If your if the day old chicks move score 3, score 4, score 5, those birds will die. That's what you can do. That you see the high mortality during the first 1 week. But if you're able to do the scoring and you discover this thing, it can stop the mortality by maintaining proper brooding temperature, proper relative humidity. It will stop it. Look at some other cases we found on the field. There are even sometimes you see strange. If you see something come out of the vent like this, it shows that those chicks are also bad. These are internal factors that you don't have control. But if you call a professional to come and evaluate it, and you see all those things, to be able to advise you what to do and the drug to use. Then I've done the internal factors. I'm trying to be fast. Then the external factors, that's the management factors now. And this is the single biggest contributor to early chick mortality from my own observation, from field observation, is the single biggest contributor to early chick mortality. And what are the external factors? 1, high brooding temperature, low brooding temperature, relative humidity, starvation, inadequate drinkers and feeders, predators, litters, and overcrowding. These are the cause of injury, litters, and overcrowding. These are what we call the external factors. And this contributes to biggest early chick mortality. And the funny thing that if you look at these factors, 99% of these factors is in the hand of the farmer. The farmer has control over it. But now, why are we having high mortality because of if you are the one in charge of it? Because you have control over high temperature, you have control over low temperature, you have control over starvation. But is the single biggest contributor to early chick mortality. So let's look at them one by one because of that we have to rush. Number 1, temperature. In brooding, both broiler and layers, though broiler is very short. Most critical is day 1. Critical 1 week. Less critical 2 weeks. And we are telling farmer now that your litter must be 30-33. If your litter is not around 30-33, you may not have mortality or coccidiosis that lead to mortality. If your litter is not maintained around 30-33 degrees centigrade, you have coccidiosis. But if you're able to maintain 30-33 degrees centigrade your litter, you may not likely to have coccidiosis or less coccidiosis. Then the concrete or the floor should be between 28 to 30 degrees centigrade. These 2 factors, these need I will explain to you later. And that's what we advise someone that what we call preheating. That before your chicks arrive, don't depend on the weather. You have to start heating. There are sometimes you have to brooding room 24 hours before your chicks arrive. There are sometimes you have to heat your brooding room 12 hours before your chicks arrive. There are sometimes you don't need to heat, depend on the temperature. Like now we are in, rain is falling in southwest, so there is no sun everywhere. So anybody that collecting by this time now must start heating his brooding pen 24 hours before the chicks arrive, so as to maintain the liter 30-33 and the concrete 28-30. If you don't have this one, it will be mortality. And because high and pasty, that's the dehydration and pasty, because the body of young chicks contains 70% of water. So continuous high temperature causes loss of water. Just 10% loss of water will cause die due to dehydration. And pasty, this okay. Let me repeat. High brooding temperature, it causes dehydration and pasty. The body of young chicks contains about 70% water. So continuous high temperature causes loss of water from the body, and if water loss reach about 10, the chicks die due to dehydration. You can see the leg. These are some cases we found on the farm. What you are saying here is that if you are trying to hit the pen, like some people, they close the pen and they go home, or they don't even go to the brooding pen. Anytime the temperature can go up, and if the temperature go up and the bird lose 10% moisture, the bird will die due to dehydration. But you don't know. Or there are sometimes if the temperature is too high, it becomes called pasty. This is another problem of high brooding temperature, where feces block the vent. Pasty ultimately result in death. You can see pasty, why the shit will block the anus, and this will cause high electric mortality. Sometimes not only high brooding temperature, there's sometimes if there's water deprivation, there's no water, it will block the vent. So two things cause this one, and this cause high mortality during day old chicks. The reason is that if you look at number one, normal chicks, they breathe through the nostril and lose 2 grams per 24 hours. But chicks that spit through the beak can lose 10 grams moisture in 24 hours. The moment you are in brooding pen and you see that the bird is opening its mouth, that means the brooding temperature is too high. Because ideally, day old chicks supposed to breathe with their nostril. But the moment you see that the bird is opening mouth small, that means the temperature is too high. Still, also low brooding temperature, it causes suffocation. And when there's suffocation, it will lead to early chick mortality. And let us look at feed utilization during low temperature. We have low high temperature, we are now looking at the low temperature. The metabolism of feed needs to be produced by the chicks. So as temperature drops below comfort temperature, the chick will consume more feed to maintain its body temperature and stay comfortable. Usually, if the temperature is too low in the brooding pen, what happens is that the bird will eat more feed to stay comfortable. But there's certain level that if the temperature go down, they will die. Why? Because as they're eating more feed, they require oxygen in production of heat and energy from the feed to grow. So you find out that, for example, their own chicks at 28 degrees centigrade require 20% more energy and 5% more oxygen than chicks at 33 degrees centigrade. What means that if the brooding temperature is supposed to be 33, and you are now it drops to 28 degrees centigrade, the chicks will require 20% more energy and 5% more oxygen than a chick at 33 degrees centigrade. Actually, if the temperature further drop at 26 degrees centigrade, the chick requires 50% more energy and more of oxygen. So we have found out that only 5% increase demand of oxygen is required to cause ascites. So what happens is that when the weather is too cold and the birds eat more feed, they need more oxygen because you have sealed the pen. They also need more oxygen for the feed utilization. And you may be using stove or kerosene or gas that also depend on oxygen inside the pen. The bird will need the oxygen. Your brooder source will need the oxygen. So the more the temperature is dropping down, the more the bird will eat, and the more they will need the oxygen. So there are certain level. If the oxygen increases, it means ascites, and the bird will die. That will cause ascites. So these are cause of early chick mortality, and these are things that farmer can prevent. Relative humidity also is very key, and that's why we are telling farmer that anytime you are doing brooding, don't look for only thermometer. Look for thermometer and hygrometer. You can see this one now. This farm is in Jebode. You can see temperature 34.4, humidity 64, so which is okay. Though the humidity here is a bit higher. It's supposed to be touched 50 for the first one day. They just leave the old chicks. So at the time I went there, I look at this thing. They are put this inside the pen, but because the humidity, though it's 60 is okay, but that 64% is still high. So if I know the birds are panting, so the moment this humidity go to 70, those birds will die. Some of them will die. They will see some mortality in the morning. Early in the morning, they will see mortality. So relative humidity is very key in poultry business, and that's why high relative humidity causes dampness of the litter. If you're on deep litter and the humidity is very high, it causes dampness of the litter material in the brooder house, facilitating the growth of microorganisms, especially coccidiosis and some E. coli, which is suitable for disease outbreak. And before you know it, you have early chick mortality. And these are guidelines I'm giving to farmers to prevent it. From day one to day 7, maintain 30-50 relative humidity, not higher than that. And if you look at this, sometimes, like I say in my earlier presentation, you need a vet doctor, a professor to come and evaluate your day-old chicks before brooding. And there's what you call chick length by using ruler. That ruler, by the time or weighing of the bird, by the time you use ruler, it can even tell you the age of the parent stock. Why do you need the age of the parent stock for your day-old chick for brooding? Because it has been discovered day-old chicks from young parent stock need higher brooding temperature than day-old chicks from old parent stock. So if you're a farmer, you are collecting birds from a day-old chick for your parent stock, and you still maintain your old brooding, some of the birds will die or they will not grow. Or you collect from old parent stock, you maintain your old method of brooding, you still have problem. So these days now things are changed because the poultry business is no more profitable like before. So you have to apply size. So that's why we're telling farmers that you need a professional. By using just ruler, once they know the age of the parent stock, you now know the temperature you are going to use. For example, I'm telling farmers today now that day-old chicks, temperature, day-old chicks from less than 30 weeks, they need 34. If the parent stock is less than from 30 weeks down, less than 30 weeks, maybe the parent is 30 weeks, 29 weeks, 28 weeks, 27 weeks, or 25 weeks, 24 weeks, and they collect eggs from those parent stock and they hatch and give you the old chicks, you must maintain temperature 34. If you maintain 35, the bird will not do well. And temperature of chicks from 30 and above require one temperature less than temperature the old chicks from 30 and less than 30 weeks. These are the signs we are telling farmers now, so they can use optimum result for your bird. It's no more like before. So you need a vet come and do the analysis, and that will also prevent early chick mortality. And this relative humidity you should maintain. One for the first 1 week 30-50, second week 40-50. If you look at this program here now, you can see that 64. But look at here, it's 30-50. Even that 64 is like 2 weeks. So the bird will not do well. And these are what we cause early chick mortality. You'll be using drug. No. So we are not looking at cause and prevention at the same time. So it's no. So these are things that we are telling farmers how to prevent it. Litter, we will now go to litter. Litter is very important. In the litter, this litter you are seeing, farmers don't see as bedding material. No. Litter has two functions. two functions: regulation of flow temperature and chick body temperature. So I want farmer to know. And any farmer that has coccidiosis is not a farmer. I can never have coccidiosis on my farm because of this one. So 90%, I can tell you 90% of farmers, they just do this in an old method, things that are getting results. And the fact that most of them will tell you that they have been in the business for years. What are we telling them? But we are still telling them that it is not correct. Once you have coccidiosis on your farm, it means that you're not a good farmer. Listen to that's the truth. I can never have coccidiosis on my farm because I apply science. Like I told you before, from the earlier heat, maintain it at 30-33. So some of my farmers that consult, they have a thermometer to measure the liter. They even measure the temperature of the liter. They measure the temperature of the flow. And now with the thermometer is more than 1,500. Just to go and measure the temperature of the flow and the temperature. By the time you do like that, no organism can grow at that temperature. It will be dry. But people don't know. And like I used to tell farmers that gone are the day that most of the wood shaving we are getting now is from a wet wood. So when you want to do brooding, make sure you get your litter during dry season and store it. Most of my clients that are brooding broiler, they all now, the litter that are using it, they source it in March, they store it in warehouse. If you're a farmer today now, you are brooding maybe next week, you are going to go look for wood shaving, it will not work. You may have mortality, and you use it drug because already this dry season, and they are getting the shaving from wet wood. Already the moisture is 30%. Already, before you come to your farm, it's 30% moisture. So before you know you have coccidiosis, you'll be spending money, a bird will die. So if you are doing brooding, so people, most of my clients, they have warehouse for wood shaving. You must have a warehouse for wood shaving. At the end of the day, it pays you. By the time you calculate the number of birds you are losing, the amount of coccidiosis drug you are using, it will be the mini warehouse. Take this plant, start, store your dry wood shaving and arrange it so that the fungus will not grow. Because the function of litter is to regulate the flow and the chick body temperature. If you look at it here, what I was told before, you can look at it here closely. This deep litter, this is a flow, this is litter. I told before, maintain the flow 28 to 30. Maintain the litter 31. This is your temperature. This is your temperature. Maybe thermometer is reading 35. The bag will grow very well because the temperature of a day old is 40 degrees centigrade. They will not stay comfortable. But look at the second farm. If you are a farmer that you don't even care, just put shaving, and it happened that the flow is 24 against 28 and 30. And the litter at just 1 degree centigrade difference is science, just 30. And your temperature you put on your brooding pen, you are looking 35, which the place humid. It's correct, but it's wrong. Because why? The bird will get the heat, but they lose it through the feet if the floor is wet. So then we are not doing anything. You heat, you are wasting money on kerosene, charcoal, and gas. You may go as a farmer, you now go and the temperature, not the thermometer, you are sitting at 4. You are happy the temperature of the brooding pen is correct. But whereas if your flow and litter is below the standard, the bird will get the heat, but they lose to the feet. That means the temperature inside the body of the chick is 38. Such birds will die or they will not grow. That's what we call early chick mortality. And how do you know it? When your flow is wet, how do you know as a farmer? Very simple. When you are doing brooding, as you are going around the brooding pen, just take 1 day old chicks or 2. Take the leg and put it at the back of your neck or on your cheek. If it is cold, that means your litter is cold or your flow is cold. That means there's something wrong. You have to take action. But if it is warm, that means your flow and litter is okay. That's how you know to checkmate yourself. Just like a laying bird that's laying very well, the comb is warm. But a laying bird not laying, the comb is cold. The same thing. The birds talk to us, but we don't even listen. That's the problem. So overcrowding, overcrowding is what is called early chick mortality, overcrowding. And what are the causes? it contributes to well bedding material and trampling, inadequate nutrition and dehydration, overcrowding, lead to pecking and cannibalism. So these are the things that can cause early chicken mortality, overcrowding. So as a farmer, make sure you have specification from your parents, for the source of your parents' stock. What are the specifications for this breed, so that you follow the standard to avoid that one. Starvation, you can see this is a person, this is a cage, this is a farm that they are having high mortality, brooding cage. But they don't know that most of the pen, look, most of the cages, the birds are hanging, they could not have access to feed and water. So the birds die due to starvation. So sometimes you have to use your senses to know all these things. So we should try by all means that to supply adequate feed and water at all times. And
hello, sir, can you hear me?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, we've gone past the 20 minutes, so I can spare another extra 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, and we can go into the question and answer session.
Please, before to avoid starvation, make your budget very correct so that you don't run out of stock, out of feed. Have a budget before you take your day old to avoid starvation. Okay, let me just rush some of this because of time. Predators. A good predator causes of early chicken mortality. A good brooder must be rat, ant, and cat proof. Cat causes direct mortality because they can hunt and kill chicken and cause stampede in the flock, which results in more death than the one they kill by the cat. That's the cat, the stampede. Rats, on the other hand, causes both direct and indirect mortality, as they sometimes kill and spread disease agents from one to another. Also, they can defecate and urinate in the feed while stealing from the flock, thereby contaminating the feed. Even so, the ant. So make sure that your brooding patient rat, ant, and cat proof. And most of brooders, so the rat cannot pass through the water, but rat can jump. So the ant can also not pass through the water. So these are things. Just think out of the box how you can prevent that one. Inadequate drinkers and feeders. We have seen a lot like that on some farms. Maybe the number of drinkers they use, they are not correct. So this because the birds will now rush for feed and water, they can't stampede and they will die. Inadequate. Look at one farm we discover. Look at how populated they are. This farmer was recording high mortality, and on getting there, when I counted the number of feeder and drinker is inadequate, and that was called stampede. The moment we now can see most of them, they just put anyhow. So what you advise farmers is that drinker feeder, and make sure that your drinker should be on plank at different edges to avoid litter to enter inside the water, to block the water or contaminate so that it will not result in death of the old chicks. Injury is also important, especially during vaccination, big tripping, decongestion, sorting. You will see a lot of that because of stampede. If when you are doing vaccination, deep litter, you demarcate into two. Some people will enter with a net. Some people will be catching. They'll be rushing after the bird. Before know it, it's called stampede. So we tell people that make sure you do it gently or at work, do it in the night. Look at some cages, how the birds are because of injury that cause mortality. This farm is a big farm. We have to, because these chicks are somewhat young, we have to sort out the small one and bring it down, put paper for them to stay on it for some time before they grow and remove the paper. Water, we know all of us know water is key. Water plays an important role in maintaining the health and performance of the birds. It is the highest nutrient performer. Don't pay attention to it. It also plays a vital role in maintaining body temperature. But unhygienic water causes high mortality. If you know that the water you give to your day-old chicks, you don't drink it, don't give to your birds. Any water you are giving to your day-old chicks, if you cannot give to your baby, the water is not healthy to avoid early chick mortality. Even though the water is also healthy, we discover it's some big people are raising cage. Even the way they push the nipple, even the local nipple, it causes mortality. So anytime you are using cage brooder, make sure that the nipple is at the level of the chick's back. Look at it. Look at the diagram here. This is the nipple. The nipple is at the level of the chick's back. Once the nipple is above or below, the bird is difficult to drink. Before you know it, it causes thirsty. The feed will be dry because I don't drink water. Before you know it's dead. It's early chick mortality, vitamin. When there's lack of vitamin, it affects the growth and it will now lead to death in some day-old chicks. The disease factors, we have the Farmalert, we have the Brooding, we have the aspergillosis, we have, but aspergillosis become a rampant because of unhygienic in the hatchery or the type of litter we are using. How do we prevent early chick mortality? After all, one, ensure you source your chicks from a reliable hatchery. Number one, don't rush to buy day-old chicks because maybe you want to buy from one hatchery and they give you a long date. You will not supposed to give it today. No, buy from a reliable hatchery. Ensure proper brooding method. Stock birds in only well-concentrated pen with good flow and cage spacing requirements. Employ an experienced personnel or farm attendant and always be active and monitor all the farm activities during brooding, even the owner. And that's why I was telling farmers now is that if you don't have the money to put a solar, I will advise that your supervisor or manager must have a phone with Android and buy data so that when you're brooding, as the owner, you can call them and video call, WhatsApp video call, so you can monitor the farm, especially from 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. The reason is that that's the period that the temperature will drop in brooding pen, and that's the time also that if you have put kerosene in a stove and go home, the kerosene must have burned out, the level will go down, it will not burn, it will not fire very well, and that's the time the temperature will drop, so the bird will eat more feed, they will need more oxygen before they ascites and see mortality. Detail for charcoal. Always make use of good vaccination and medication chart. Consult a veterinarian. Don't do copy and paste because some people will try to copy a vaccination program on the farm, of which that disease not to the farm, and by the time the employer stop it, you see birds are dying. I've seen a lot around here. Ensure chicks are transported in good means of transportation from the hatchery to the farm. We should tell the hatchery, even the vehicle that are bringing the old chicks, it should be ventilated, not to bring in a box, in a car or a small car, no window, all these things. These are things that also cause early chick mortality. We need to standardize our profession. Even those that are into the old transporting system, at least the farmers should come together and tell them the type of transport they should use to transport their old chicks, not the way they are transporting now. All this cause high early chick mortality. Use of fresh and feed free of mycotoxin for your chicks is very key. And keep your chicks protected from predators, rat, cat, and ants. Have a vet regularly to check your flock. Have a sound poultry veterinarian. What I will usually tell farmers, veterinarian. I'm a veterinarian. If you give me dog, I don't know anything, I will maybe kill it. So not because you're a vet, you know everything you know. So look for a vet that is sound, has field experience as a consultant. Veterinarians are cheap. And this is to help you in preventing early mortality with dehydration. We have what we call caprolite. It's a complete requirement for day-old chicks that help fight post-hatchery stress, provide energy and essential nutrients to day-old chicks, help prevent early chick mortality. It helps combat hydration, improve growth rate and health. We are the first to introduce this product into the market, so we can ask any of distributor, Vetco, Farmalert, they have it. And Pemprovit also, we recommend farmers to use Pemprovit as brooding to prevent early chick mortality. Pemprovit is a combination of bactericidal antibiotic for the most common infection and vitamin to support recovery and growth. So, my dear farmer, let's look after your chicks and it will look after you. Thank you all for listening. I remain yours, Dr. Wagetti, and these are my number. In case you want 08023145336, 08068934724. Thank you for listening. And we sincerely apologize for the short time. I have to rush. You know, sometimes I don't like rushing presentation, but I have to follow the rules and regulation of the webinar. Thank you.
No problems, no problems at all. Thank you very much, sir, for this detailed presentation of yours. And I think every farmer would have identified and learned what they're doing wrong and those areas they are paying less attention to, and as to why they keep wondering why their chicks keep dying. It could be your fault as the farmer. It could be the fault of the source where you're buying from. But once you're able to pay attention to each and every detail as required, then you should be able to
We have lost you. Okay.
Sorry, my apologies. You will be able to know the causes of this mortality and how to prevent it. Our second hub expert is Dr. Usman Omar. Before we go into questions and answers, I would give him another extra 5 minutes to say one or two things about early chick mortality, causes and prevention. Dr. Usman Omar, you can unmute yourself.
Good afternoon, farmers. As always, I salute you, my brother, Dr. James Babawagetti, for very rich presentation. I want to lay emphasis on one thing. If for any reason you are away from the hatchery hub or from your hatchery, meaning that you are at more than 500 kilometers from the hatchery, you are receiving your bird, then you have special responsibilities indeed. The burden of early chick mortality, a lot of the time is external that is delivered to you, not only from the hatchery, but also from the logistics of transport. The chaps who drive through the night to deliver the birds to us are not stakeholders beyond messengers. So they do not bear any costs whatsoever. And I want us to remember as farmers that 100% payment for your DOCs are already made. They are already departed the hatchery gates. And so all liability are transferred to you. As farmers, we must start looking inwards as to how we can protect our investments on wheels before they are even delivered to us, particularly in the areas of which Dr. Babawagetti alluded to, the quality and the standard of the vehicle that transports the DOCs to us. That's one. Because this is also already captured in the Animal Diseases Act signed by the president. So it's an offense not to ensure animal welfare. So we only need to go back to this law and elicit the things that will protect our investments. And on the basis of that, we can approach insurance companies to pay a token on insurance for birds in transit. This came to the fore during the lockdown when many farmers lost thousands of day-old chicks just during transport only. And so we need to lay strong emphasis on those things that are, because they seem outside our control, but there are things that we can do to be able to ameliorate the losses that can occur as a result of transport mortalities. And having said that, we also need to start paying greater attention to the science of poultry production. Your birds arrive and you give your vaccinations, the standard ones, ND, IBD, day 5, day 7. It is not scientific. For God's sake, this is like almost like voodoo now. I have a vaccination schedule. There cannot be one vaccination schedule for different batches of birds, even on the same farm, because circumstances change. The age of the breeders change also, and that affects the maternal immunity that is transferred to your chicks. And so the dates of vaccinations can vary. So I will encourage us as farmers to employ science by just taking blood samples from a random sample of birds and taking to the lab for a token. My calculation shows that there is serology and vaccination as a whole. If you do the whole gamut of vaccinations, including mycoplasma vaccination, fowl cholera, fowl pox, 3-in-1, MBIB, it's not more than 0.3% of the total cost of production. It is not something we cannot afford, but we neglect it to our own disadvantage. There are times when it is not due for Gumboro, especially the second Gumboro. If you have given the first Gumboro vaccine, please, for God's sake, before you give the second Gumboro vaccine, ask for serology. It does not cost an arm and a foot at all. So I will encourage us, each and one of us, to continue to employ science in what we do and continue to work together and share opinions on and knowledge on what we know, science-based knowledge, such as has been passed to us by Dr. Wagetti this afternoon, and so that we can make progress. I thank you very much for this opportunity. I am here not only as a veterinarian, but also as a farmer. Thank you very much, Dr. Sumsia.
For that advice, and trust me, each and every farmer in this room, jump on the fact that you have to start using science. There is no general vaccination schedule for anybody. It's just a guide. But even the birds that are coming from the same hatcheries are coming from different birds. And even if they are coming from the same birds, they're coming from the same birds at different times. A breeder laid eggs 1 month. She's still laying 2 months after. You cannot compare her immunity a month ago to when she laid, and then you got the chicks from this batch of birds that were brought to you. So what I'm saying is, try to inculcate science in your business, in your farms. Say no to blind diagnosis, say no to blind management, say no to blind farming generally. Dr. Wagetti has said it. Make sure you engage the services of a professional. A senior colleague once said you should be able to discern longevity and professionalism. Just because somebody has been doing poultry farms since the times of Sardauna or since 1960 something still does not make the person a veterinarian. Yes, nobody is downplaying their knowledge, nobody's downplaying their experience, but then there's a limit to what they would know and a limit to explanations they would give you. So we have a series of questions, and we're also, the comment section is open for more questions. And I'll be throwing the questions between Dr. Wagetti and Dr. Usman Omar to give us answers and their recommendations. So the first question here said, and it will be to Dr. James Babawagetti. In the case of pasting, the person is asking, can we manually remove the feces when dealing with just few chicks? Dr. James, are you with us? Dr. James Wagetti, can you hear us? You can unmute yourself and answer the question, sir.
I cannot. cannot unmute. Okay, hello, can you hear me? Sorry.
Yes, did you get the question, sir?
Yes, no, I had a question. You were saying that can you remove the pasting manually or?
Yes.
Okay, yes, but first of all, because practically I've experienced that on our farm, then those days, and sometimes we try to remove it manually. If the cause of pasting is due to maybe water shortage, because the anus is a block of the feces. Sometimes you may try to cause harm to the anus, but you can do it. And what we have done then is that we do it with oil. You apply with oil and remove. You just go and use your hand and remove like that. You have to wet the place with oil and water before you remove it. But make sure if you're using water, don't bring infection. Because if you just want to remove like that, it may even affect the anus and it will give room for bacterial infection. So what we do if there are few, use clean water, sterile water or oil before you can remove it. Practical. That's what I discussed. If not, you have the anus. But first of all, you have the what is the cause of the pest venting? Is it due to water shortage? Is it due to high temperature? Because if it's due to high temperature, the moment you correct the temperature, even the sheet on its own, or even the blanket will be fall down on its own. And sometimes if it's due to water shortage, the moment you give enough water, it will be passed away on its own. That's from my field experience. But you can remove it, but before removing it, wet it with sterile water or oil and remove it. So I hope I've answered you.
And I hope the participant who asked the question was able to get a clarification and answer to the question. So
okay.
The next question is the person is asking, and I will be directing this question to Dr. Usman Omar. The person is asking, at what age should the beak of birds be trimmed?
Okay. Are you okay? Is it me or is it me?
Yes, Dr. Usman Omar.
Okay.
Take this question. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah. The beaking and big, these terms are used sometimes interchangeably.
Big trimming.
Big trimming and debeaking are not one and the same, but they are similar. Now, big trimming can be done even as early as on arrival of birds.
Yeah.
What this does is that it slows down the growth of the beaks until the time that you want to debeak. But whatever you do, please do not debeak close to vaccination and do not debeak close to movement of birds. Transfer of birds from one cage to another, or from floor to cage, at point of cage, or close to transportation at any time at all. Debeaking, by its very nature, is not very far off from circumcision. And so it's a very painful exercise. And we take it for granted, but it is required to be done by a professional carefully and also humanely. So let me repeat the answers to the exact answers to the question. Beak trimming can be done as early as on arrival of birds, and the debeaking itself can be done whenever you feel the birds are are less stressed, anytime from 5 weeks, 6 weeks, but not close to vaccination periods, because it's an animal welfare issue. It is it's a painful operation, and you should insist that it's done by a professional humanely. Thank you.
Let me add. Can I add to my boss? What my boss said?
Please go ahead, please.
Okay. Well, we are talking of science here. We are all farmers and we're into business. I will prefer big tripping. People should avoid debeaking. That's from my own angle. And just like my boss have said, my mentor, you can debeak as they want, and that's why from in abroad, they develop lesser operation. You can even debeak a day old, and Olam was doing that. But if you on your farm, you can start debeaking at this one. We have debeaking machine that have hole that you can do on your own. It has different hole. On our farm, we do at the 7. But if there are challenges, we do at 21. But after 21 days, we make sure that we are finished debeaking. We avoid debeaking from 6 weeks, and I'll give you the reason for that. We can only do at maybe 8 or 9 weeks, those that we miss. But try to do a debeaking by professional, like I said, before 3 weeks. And the reason is that debeaking, like my mentor said, is very stressful, and it affects the growth rate of the birds. And if you look at if you debeak today, it will take at least a week before the birds will stabilize. Even that day, they will not even eat. Before they'll be weak. And that's why from 6 weeks and above, don't debeak your birds professionally now. Because from 6 weeks to 12 weeks, that's the highest growth rate for skeletal system and muscle, especially the skeletal system. So we don't want it to affect the growth rate at that time. Once you affect the growth rate at that 6 to 12 weeks, your bird, you will never get the full potential of those breeds. But if it becomes necessary that you have to debeak at 6, 7, 8, 9 weeks, do it in the night. Don't do it in the daytime unless if it's during cool season like rain is falling, and make sure that you put a lot of these things down, like good vitamin K, and make sure there are a lot of feed in the feeder. And the debeaking is you have to debeak and fertilize. There are 2 things you are doing from 6 and 8 weeks. That's we're not doing debeaking now. You have to pot and fertilize. If they are doing too fast, they are cut finish in time before you know the beak will grow back. Because the beak is a structural protein. It's the same protein with our nail and here. If you cut your nail now, it will grow back. But if you apply fire to your nail, it will not grow back. If you apply fire on your hair, it cannot grow back. So it's the same thing with debeaking. Don't rush. Cut and seal it. It will not grow back. But I will advise someone that do your debeaking before 6 weeks so that not affect the growth rate. Because the highest growth rate in layer is 6, 7, 8, 9 weeks. That's for skeletal system and muscles. And you want to utilize that period. I think that's my. But sometimes, you know, we are between the devil and they say, how do you put it? Because from that, they want to 6 weeks. There's also a danger zone, gomboro. You don't want to stress the bird so that not trigger gomboro. But if you have a professional, you liaise with them, they'll be able to advise you properly. Because all the gomboro we are having on our farm, it may not be necessary for vaccination fellow. It may not be necessary for the way I apply the vaccine. But because of stress, even cool induced stress can trigger gomboro. So that's my little contribution. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Before you go, another question. The person is asking, you know, the person said there is scarcity of sawdust, wood shavings, and also it's also costly. So he's asking if there are other alternatives that can be used to keep the litter dry. I
think for me, sawdust is even out of it. For me, people are using it, but for me, sawdust is out of it. I don't recommend sawdust because it controls the bird protective system, and sometimes the bird can pick it like feed. If the person cannot maintain his feed very well, you see some farm 30% of litter is feed. So if you are using sawdust and your floor is 30% feed, you find the crop is almost impacted. If you open the gizzard, you see a lot of issues there. So sawdust is the best. Well, that's what can use it, but it's maintaining is very difficult in Nigeria because they're not sterile. So I think the best way to go for now is for me is sawdust, and it's a plan. They're what you call planning. You have to plan ahead. Like my presentation, I'm the Director General for Broiler Hope in part of West. And all broiler farmer, because we know that this is the peak of broiler farmer. So I give them advice, start stocking sawdust as of April and May, not wait by this time. So everything is planning. If you plan, you get it. Sawdust are wood, they are still doing wood, there's still sawdust. So, but if you wait till 2 or 3 weeks before you look for, you will not get it. So I would advise the farmer to plan ahead, because even in broiler farming, planning amount to 25% of growth of broiler, brooding 50%. So that's my. But if maybe other people, Usman can advise on that. But for me, I want to go to shaving, plan ahead, and you get it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Yes.
Somebody is asking, wood shavings or sawdust?
Wood shaving.
Wood shavings.
Yes.
Sawdust are not advised. It's not
For
advisable
me,
to use
people are
sawdust.
using it. Some people are getting results. Don't quote me. Some people are using it, but the disadvantage of using sawdust is more than the advantage. Are you getting my point? Hello? Hello? Doctor, did you get my point?
So I think she went off. Probably okay. She's trying to make her way back. But you said we should not quote you.
Yeah.
But why shouldn't we quote you, doctor?
Well, you know, like I told you, I have a lot of clients that are using sawdust. A lot of clients that are using sawdust, to be honest with you, and they are still getting results. If I tell you something that you will not believe it, even there are some people, I saw some farms that are using some, but I condemn it, sand, but I condemn it outrightly, sand, because they are not shaving, no sawdust. But sawdust, some people are using, but what I'm saying that the disadvantage of using sawdust is more than the disadvantage is more than the advantage.
All right, so while we are still waiting for Dr. Tumsia to come back, somebody is asking, is it advisable to debug beds? I think we have answered this question, but this is asking specifically for beds beyond 6 weeks and just recovering from treatment. So maybe you should answer it in 2 ways, if you don't mind.
What I would suggest is that big trimming, I've talked about that, but because of the problem we have with this Gomboro issue, there are some people, maybe there are challenges, you can still have up to 10 weeks to debug your birds. Up to 10 weeks, you can still debug your birds. But I've just tried to tell you professionally, if you can avoid, it's better, because especially 7 weeks is the highest growth rate of skeletal system in the bird and the muzzle. That's the highest growth rate. Because by 12 weeks, they are finished growing. So, but the only thing I will say, after 12 weeks, don't debug your bird. If you debug your bird after 12 weeks, you have killed your birds. That one I can tell you effectively. Don't ever debug your birds after 12 weeks. You may not get the full potential of those breeds, but you can see the big, you know, sometimes you may have challenges, you can see the big 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 weeks, but please, not 11 or 12 weeks. So you can still go, but if it becomes compulsory, you have the big at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 weeks. I will advise you do it at the coolest part of the day, preferably in the night, and debug carefully, not stressful for the birds. And like I say, make sure you do what you call checklist for everything before you start debugging. Make sure they have good vitamin before, during, and after debugging. Make sure, if possible, they have vitamin K in the feed. Vitamin K in the feed before, during, and after debugging. Make sure there is ample of feed in the feeder with that type of debugging. Because at that time, if anyone they cut them out and they decauterize it, and as the bird want to pick feed in the feeder and it hit the bottom of the feeder, it will feel pain. So make sure there is ample of feed in the feeder throughout that period for the past 5 days before you now regulate your feed.
But doctor, I want to quickly ask, while we are still waiting for Dr. Tumsia to come on board, sometimes I have this experience that farmers who are already having laying birds, right, are having, because they didn't properly debug their birds are probably cannibalizing or maybe probably breaking the eggs that they are laying and also taking them in. What will you advise that kind of farmer? The birds are already laying, but the birds are cannibalizing in the cage, or probably they are breaking their eggs. What will you advise that farmer?
Well, first of all, I have to look at it closely, because ideally, cannibalizing the egg shall not arise, because the moment the bird lay egg is supposed to roll out. The egg is supposed to roll out far from the chicken. So breaking the egg, or if they remove the neck and go and pick it down. So if they are pecking, that's why we should look at. You can see how your egg can roll out. But if they are pecking and they develop vices and not prolapse, and that there's some birds, when there's, especially in hot weather, maybe they have depict them and the big grow back or didn't depict at all, and they develop that vices. And you have now found out that the causes of that you don't have any means to do it. You don't have any choice than to close your eye and depict them. And have at the back of your mind, you are going to suffer production for at least 1 week before you recover back. So the farmer should know that one, because that's the only permanent solution. That's the only permanent solution. But you find out that have at the back of your mind, the egg will drop down, but they will still come back. But to avoid it, that's why we say that make sure you get sound field poultry veterinarian to do this debicking for you, to get it right. I have a case like that. I have a case that I handled of recent, 30,000 birds at 26 weeks. They didn't depict them. He bought point of lay, and they told him that the birds they have depicted them. But when they brought them, they start pecking. It was prolonged that prompted the birds to depict pecking. After the prolong have stopped, they are both one they just depict at annos pecking. You see, the antenna will roll out. So we try only means it didn't stop. So the only thing that they have to depict in the night, in the midnight, and we suffer production for a week, and they came back.
Fantastic. Dr. Tumsia,
yes,
back?
Sir, I'm back, sir.
Okay.
I don't know which question did he take while I was absent?
Just
so we don't repeat
question
questions
around debaking, yes, for 10 weeks, for 6 weeks. The question around, is it advisable to debate when they are 6 weeks and beyond?
Okay.
I think there's a question on standard birth weight, standard weight.
Okay, the question I was asking before I went off was directed to Dr. Usman. A participant is asking why you suddenly find your chicks dying. Basically asking for causes of sudden chick mortality.
Is it me or
That's for me, Doctor. That's for me, Dr. Tumsia.
Yes.
Sir?
Okay. You see, this is an open-ended question, because this will require taking into consideration a history of the flock before you can respond to it, because there are a myriad of reasons that can lead to birds in brooding dying suddenly. Thunderclaps, lightning, a snake scared them in the night. There was crowding, and they stampeded. So non-infectious reasons, plenty, that can lead to such a thing. And so unless there's a history, it would be unfair to say 1, 2, 3, this is the reason your birds died. Usually, this kind of mortality the farmer is referring to, usually you find that it is in the morning, you find it. So it happened during the night, usually. So these are non-disease reasons that can lead to sudden mortality. Yes, please.
And then another question.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Is Dr. James saying anything?
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So another question. Somebody is asking that you were talking about temperature, and the person is asking, what about making a charcoal fire? If the liter temperature is less than the optimal temperature, that was what the person asked. He said, can you make charcoal fire if the liter temperature is less than the optimal temperature?
Well, like when we are talking of cause of mortality, cause of early mortality due to temperature, I've said my presentation. First 1 day is critical, and I've given you a first week less critical, and I've given you a chart also for temperature for flow and temperature for liter. And as a farmer, before your birds arrive, that's the time you need to correct it, not when the birds are there. And I've said that it depends on the time of the brooding. There is some time you have to preheat the house 48 hours before your chicks arrive. There is some time you have to heat your brooding house 24 hours before your chicks arrive. There is some time 12 hours before the chicks arrive. There is some time you don't even need to heat. It depends on the temperature of that day, the weather of that day. If you are brooding in Southwest, for example, in June, July, whereby there is no sun, rain is falling throughout, it's very difficult to maintain the temperature of the liter and the flow. That's why you need at least 48 hours to be heating the pen until the temperature of the flow and liter get that 28, 30 before the chicks will arrive. Because the moment the chicks arrive, sometimes it's very difficult to get the temperature. So that's what we call preheating in brooding, preheating. Just get the temperature of the flow and liter before the chicks arrive. Because that one, like I said before, liter has two functions, of which some don't know. The people, most of them are okay, your liter just isolate, just put one the bag stand on it. No, liter has a function to regulate the flow temperature and to regulate the body temperature of the chick. You use, and that preheating, you either use charcoal, stove, either stove or charcoal or gas brooder before your chick arrive, not when your chicks are already there. Are you getting the point now?
Was able to get the answer from you. So there are certain things you're supposed to do before the birds arrive, not when they arrive.
No.
And as I stated in the chat box, this the copy of the presentation will be shared via the email you registered with. Dr. Wagetti, another question for you. Somebody is asking that how can one compensate weight deficiency during breeding? At the moment, they have birds of age 10 weeks, and they're weighing 638 grams.
Is it okay? Let me comment on that. That's very interesting. First of all, this weighing, to get the weight, you have to start from day one. The rest of weighing starts from day one. If you wait till 8 weeks, as you say, Abi, 8 weeks.
No, she said at 10 weeks, at the moment, the birds are weighing 638 grams.
638 grams.
So, yes.
A person has only 2 weeks to correct the weight. Only 2
so
weeks.
She's asking how it can be corrected.
Well, so for now, first of all, you have to, what's the uniformity? Because look at the uniformity. So that we know how to identify what's the uniformity of the flock. Because not all of them have is it 638, is it the highest or the lowest? Because we want to know, I can definitely some of them may have, they must have the standard, not all of them. But if some of them are on the weight, for now, the first thing the person can do to separate those rotated one out from the flock aside. to remove those that are below standard. Separate them aside. And when you separate them aside, let them have an ample space and give them amino acid, not vitamin at that time. Give them amino acid. We have Kepro amino acid. Just go to vertical shop or Farmalert that you need only amino acid for growth. So that it will be given to your bird. So that in that 2 weeks time, the growth rate may increase higher than what they're supposed to get in a day, per week. But if you mix the birds together, the rotor will still remain rotated, because if you put them together, the dominant one will eat more than the small one. And we have done a research at Lasana. We found out that if the dominant one can consume 1 gram of feed in 1 minute, the smaller one can take the 1 gram in 30 minutes. That means they are slow eaters. So what I would like to remove those slow eaters, let them have their own space, and give them amino acid, not vitamin, so that they can able to grow up. And if you are also an animal science, or you can also nutrition, you can also try to see how you can protein in the diet. At least they're able to catch up.
Okay.
But if other classes say, but that's the way to handle it. But the best way is, because by 12 weeks, there's nothing you can do again. There's nothing you can do. But that's the inflation point. Because by 12 weeks, Isa Brown is 82% mature for laying.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes.
And then this question is also for you too, because the person is asking that, does dehydration have anything to do with leg deformities in birds during brooding?
Of course, yes. Because if the birds are dehydrated, if you look at dehydration of a bird, if you have, as a veterinarian, if you go to a farm, at a glance, you know whether these birds are dehydrated. For example, if you see a bird that don't drink water, maybe just eat feed and didn't drink water, it will be dehydrated. The bird will not be able to stand on its feet. You find that the bird will stand on its hoof if dehydrated, because it don't have energy to stand on its leg, toy. So the moment you see a bird still on the hoof, that means it's dehydrated because they don't have energy. That is one leg problem. And well, I don't want to go into detail, but you also look at the leg. You see that the leg is dry, and I don't want to put diagnosis like that. Just maybe you can call your veterinarian around to come and check. You see some sign on the leg that, or any poultry expert, that this is dehydrated. But definitely, it's not like it cannot stand on its foot. Not that the leg will bend or talk. No, it cannot be. It just be standing on the hoof. You not be able, because you don't have anything to stand on the leg. And that's how, if the birds are dehydrated, the best thing is to dehydrate it back. So that's why you need a veterinarian to come and do evaluation, check evaluation before brooding. So that if there's any dehydration, you can go and look for glucose and hydrate the birds back. And that's why Adamo is bringing Keprolite. Keprolite contains glucose and vitamin that chicks need. And apart from that, there's what we call glycine. Glycine is part of essential amino acid that is used to increase the GIT. It promotes the growth of the GIT. And when the GIT is growth, the bird will be able to take more feed, and the growth will be high. So
okay,
you're able to go and look for, go to Farmalert, go to Vetco in Kaduna, or Farmalert is in Abuja, Ijebode, Lekki. You get the Keprolite. Start your day all chicks to hydrate them back. Because if the bird is hydrated also, and you give drug, the bird will get the more. You have spike of mortality.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. This next question is for Dr. Usman Omar. And you mentioned carrying out serology test in between vaccination. So the person is asking for an explanation. The person said, please explain serology between vaccinations? Dr. Usman Omar?
Thank you very much, Doctor. Serology simply means taking blood for investigations to see what the titer levels of what you are looking for is. For instance, if you are looking for titer levels, antibody titer levels, or for IBD, Bomboro, you will find, okay? And so the readings have to be a certain uniformity, whether it is down or high, then the scientist, a veterinarian, will be able to interpret the results that come from the lab and tell you that you are due to revaccinate or do not vaccinate, or wait till another few days before you can, such and such a date before you can vaccinate. It's a guide that makes you not go up in the dark, not do it blindly. It tells you scientifically when the birds are due for vaccination. And let me tell you, add to this, is that when the results of a serology comes from the lab, I'm afraid you cannot interpret it. It is only a trained poultry veterinarian that can interpret that and be able to tell you what to do.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. So that you can hear, so even if you collect the results, they can literally not say, even the veterinarians, only those who have laboratory diagnosis experience can actually interpret the result. You might just pick it up and might just look like rocket science to you. So your best bet is to get a professional, take the samples to the lab, get your result. He or she will interpret the result and tell you whether your birds are good to go. Because most farmers make mistakes. They just revaccinate. Sometimes your birds are fine, their titer level are superb, and then you go ahead, you vaccinate them, and then they come crashing. You expose them to certain, field infection. So it's advisable you get your professional to run you through the process and interpret the results to you. Dr. James, somebody is asking that, does lightning program have effect? She said both negative and positive effect on the development of pullets here in the tropics.
Of course.
She said here in the tropics.
Of course. Well, if you look at lightning program, the effect is that at what age do you start your lightning program? If you start your Latin program, especially for Isam Brown, I don't want to talk on Nera Black, White Ambly, or Loman. I don't know anything about that one. But practically with Isa Brown, if you start Latin program at wrong time, it will affect the birds. If you start Latin program at the wrong time, it will make the birds develop faster, and it will affect them in future. And Latin program also have positive effect on production. Without Latin program, you may not get the full genetic of those breeds. That means they need an extra 3 hours every day. I will not have detail to explain. But the Latin program have to come, it comes with the maturity, the age. That's the body weight and the age. When you know that the birds are ready for laying, you now bring in your Latin program, and you don't start it fully. You start either 30 minutes or 15 minutes every day until the time you do that full 3 hours per day. You have to go gradually. It's a science on its own. By the time I explain, it will take us a long time, but definitely it has a post. You cannot get production without Latin program. And if you give Latin program at the wrong time, it affects the production. So it's a science.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay.
Another question, you talked about like a guide to the floor temperature and the room temperature. So this farmer wants to know, how can you increase floor temperature when the atmospheric temperature is already high, but the floor temperature is below recommended level?
I didn't get the question.
Okay. He said, how can you increase the floor temperature?
Okay.
when the atmospheric temperature is high. So what he's saying is when you have a higher atmospheric temperature and a lower floor temperature, what do you do? How can you increase the floor temperature?
I don't, the moment you have high atmospheric temperature, the floor temperature will also be high. It's natural like that. That's if the weather is, what is atmospheric temperature? That's if the weather is very high, what high, the temperature is high. Yeah. Like in May, let's say in Southwest, like in let's say February, March, April, the temperature is very high. It's high. So automatically the temperature will also be high because the temperature is not out of isolation of the atmospheric temperature. So that's why I said that once the temperature is high, you don't need to even preheat. So I hope you get my point.
So I hope my dear farmer, I hope you're listening. Yes. And I hope you got the response you were expecting. So finally, some questions are still coming in. And this one is asking, when should one stop giving light to birds? Is it during rearing, before caging? So she's asking when.
Is it okay, layers, Abby?
Yes. I should not specific though, but if we can have answers for both.
What we have a lighting program. We have a lighting program. You know, if you look at the brooding period in the tropic area in Nigeria, we are looking at from 1 to 4, but maybe 1 to 6. After 6 weeks, 5 to 6 weeks, don't give lighting program at all. Just go to normal lighting program. After 5 to 6 weeks, don't give light program at all. So let the birds be with normal daylight. But the moment you are approaching 16 weeks, mark it, 16 weeks. By 16 weeks, the bird supposed to be if it's Easter brown, the bird supposed to be 1,350 grams. And when the birds are 1,350 grams, that means by 17 weeks, they'll be 1,410 grams. By 18 weeks, they'll be 1.5. The bird will start laying. So usually by that 17 weeks, if you are sure that 1,410 grams, of which they are also in pre-layer by that time, you still bring in your 15 minutes every week. Either 15 or 30 minutes. Every week be increasing. Maybe this week we maintain 30 minutes lighting, only 30 minutes, the whole 1 week. The following week, you make 1 hour because it goes with the production. The following week, you go 1 hour, 30 minutes. The following week, you go 2 hours. You are going with the production and development of the birds. At least by the birds, by the time you are going to that 3 hours at 9 weeks, your birds are already at maturity, fully maturity. And maturity, when the birds are 5% production, they are sexually matured. And that's the time you can change from pre-layer to layer, they are coming to laying. So they have the full, but sometimes scientifically also, there's what you call, there's what you call the kill bone, at the tip of the kill bone. Because by the time you give a lighting program, you will also make sure that the birds have deposited fat. Because without the fat, the birds will not lay. Because that sometimes you have a bird at 1.5 kg or even 2 kg, but they're not laying at all. That's a wrong weight from the rearing. But even if they have 1.419, 1.410 grams at 17 weeks, you also massage your hand at the kill bone. You also massage it to and fro. You feel some fat deposition because the egg is 33% fat. 33% fat. So if there's no fat, the liver will not be able to mobilize fat for egg production. And most of the fat is at the kill bone of the layer. It's at kill bone. That's why we know it at the kill bone. So that's where you can touch it. Practically, that only veterinary can do that one. So when you find the birds are okay, you can now bring your lighting program. But if you are bringing lighting program, maybe the birds are 17 weeks, and when they are 1.2 kg, they are not mature, you are sexually induced the bird to come to lay and you have prolapse. And the bird will not perform. This is small size egg. So it's a scientific something. But what I advise that when the birds are matured, you know them physically, you avoid them, that fact, not all farmers know about it. People for they don't know it, but just depend on certain maturity and weight. Already know when the birds are going to farm for the production. 30 minutes like. And maybe I will give you our program of Latin program. You can send it to the mail. I can send your WhatsApp. As I send you my presentation, you can also send the presentation to the Latin program to all of them. And that's what all big farms are using in Nigeria. I give them all big farms, name and big farms. They are using the program we are using, and they're getting good results with big size egg without problems.
Thank you very much, sir.
I promise to give you that program.
Okay. Okay, sir. So we'll attach it with this presentation and send it to the registered emails.
Yes.
This question is for Dr. Usman. It's from this end. This is the last question. A farmer is asking the possible causes of coccidiosis in birds that are kept in cages.
I can okay.
Dr. Usman Omar.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tumsia.
Yes, sir.
Clearly, domestic flies, musca, have been implicated in the transmission of oocysts that cause cocci. So on the faces, they pick it and they peck the patch on your feed. They can deliver Emeria oocysts there, and that can lead to coccidiosis, signs of coccidiosis that you see. But the beauty of it is that it is often not as fatal as it might be when the birds are on the floor, where they can directly pick it up themselves. Thank you.
Okay, let me come in here because we are using cage and we experience severe coccidiosis in cage. So let me give you our own experience on our farm. Well, we have two types of cages. We have H type and A type. If you are brooding in A type, you know it's straight. It's about 4 or 5 tiers, and there is a bed in between them. You know, the second tier the second tier will sit on the other bed. So the bed is on the covering. So when you are moving the bed, as you are moving the bed, there are certain ages. You know, but when the birds are young, they don't have access to the oocysts. But by the time the birds get to 12 weeks, especially with salmon cage and one of these, I don't know, prominent cages, we know them. So what's the name of these cages? So Bano salmon and the one that even all they have it, even premium farms, they have it. They have those type of cages. So the moment the birds are 11, 12 weeks, they'll be able to touch the litter, they're able to touch the belt. They never be able to touch the belt. So when they are rolling the manure belt out and the manure is wet, you know, the one at the top will now come under. The one that is carrying the sheet, by the time it goes down from the sheet, it will now become under. So as the belt is moving, the bird will now have access to the belt. They'll be picking it. And because the birds don't have any pure immunity cocci, before you know it, you see from blood, you see mortality in it. And if you use cocci drug, it will not work. That it will take a long time. So what we advise farmers that the moment you know this one, inject them with sulfur. That's the quick result we get. But of recent now we are telling people that if you are raising birds in H type, okay, Dizongo and salmon cage, make sure all of them, I told them, all those people in Nigeria that have Dizongo, I used to send them a message because they think they have coccidiosis. When the birds are getting to that age, start using coccidiosis drop in feed. But of recent also, I just think out of the box. Instead for you to move the manure in the daytime, so that the bird will be seeing the manure moving and they're taking the sheet, pack the manure in the night before the daytime is dried. So it's a serious problem in H-type cages. Though initially when the cage is new, you don't have the cocci. But as the cage is getting age 4 or 5 years, you cannot run away from coccidiosis in H-type. You can never run away from it. Even of I'm battling with premium farm. That why I have to put coccidio drop inside feed. You cannot run away because there's defect in the cages. When the birds are 12 weeks, they will have access to the belt and that's H-type. But the A-type, we also discovered that there are a lot of local constructed A-type. If you buy the dissolvable or settlement of A-type, you will not have issue. But if you are farmers that are using local A-type, the way they set the basket is not correct. Some basket will be under the other cage. When the basket shitty, it even drop, touch the last cage. So you see that some farmers, they even use sack to cover at the bottom, sack. And some of the shit will not drop on the sack. And some bags will put the neck under and have the access to the sack, and they'll eat. They will pick. They also have coccidiosis. So these are causes of coccidiosis in cage. Local cages, cage type. After 2-4 years, you know of coccidiosis, but if you are using H-type cage, use coccidial drug.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you very much, sir. Somebody, the last question here, somebody is asking that are rats also implicated in the spread of coccidiosis?
Well, let my mentor answer that one, but I know rat is a rat, like he said, it's a mosquito. These are the ones, like my mentor said, these are the ones that cause coccidiosis. Okay, so that was not the one he mentioned before. But I honestly, I have to be sincere with you, I've never come across any literature or have idea whether that can transmit coccidiosis, but I don't know, and I don't say I know it, but I know
That's true.
I know rat can transmit a lot of bacterial and viral disease. That
Infections,
one,
yes.
Yeah, but coccidiosis, I don't know, because why I say I don't know that coccidiosis is host specific and organ specific. Coccidiosis that affect cat, rat cannot affect birds. Cannot. A coccidiosis that affect rabbit cannot affect chicken. So it's host specific. Even in the body of the bird, if you bring coccidiosis in the small intestine, the same bird, because large intestine is not affected. So I don't want to say I don't know, but I don't want to say, but it can maybe if you want another way you can transmit is also that if the rat go to a place where the bird shit coccidiosis and match it, and he pick on the leg and come to a feed and drop it there, they'll pick it. I think naturally it's like that.
All right, thank you very much, sir. And this is the last question for today. We're supposed to spend 90 minutes for the entire session. But at this point, we're 2 minutes away from 2 hours, but I didn't even notice time has passed. And I'm sure other participants are enjoying the session too. Thank you very much for your questions. Thank you very much for your comments. Thank you so much for joining. Can you start sharing the slide, please? So that we'll just take the part, the remaining part of the session, and then we can call it a day.
Can you give me, okay. Hello, Cynthia.
Yes, Sam.
Well, let me appreciate my friend, Olabukola Olaneye. She's there, she's a veterinarian. Madam, you are welcome.
Welcome, Ma.
She's a veterinarian.
Oh, wow. Thank you, welcome. She has been paying attention since we started. I think I've had my eyes on the particular space. Thank you for joining in, ma'am. So as I stated before now, for those that joined in late, we had a pre-quiz, which were just a set of questions extracted from the presentation to help us gauge knowledge before and after the presentation. So we're going to be administering the same set of questions so we can see what we have all learned after the presentation. Can we have the polls up? It's going to be for 3 minutes. And then we're going to have the hub expert take us through the answers so we can see which we answered right and which we answered wrongly. So the questions are up and we'll be having them for 3 minutes. They're just 5 questions. And I implore each and every one of us to attempt these questions. Thank you very much. We have 52 participants in the room, 57, and I'm yet to see any attempts. There's just 5 questions. And as I stated earlier, none of your data will be seen. It's you're answering based on anonymity, your name or anything at all will not be shown to us. So it's just to help us gauge knowledge before and after the presentation. We have just 5% participation. We can do more. Yeah, more responses are coming in. Thank you so much. I'm sure we'll all be happy with ourselves after, you know, we take the questions and then we get answers from the hub experts. Thank you very much. We have just, we have less than 2 minutes to go. 40% participation, we can do better. %, I would need more than that. We'll be taking down the polls very soon, but I could spare extra seconds just to make sure each and every one of us attempts the questions. Thank you. They're simple questions. They're 5. They're straightforward questions. You don't have to crack your brains. As I stated, it's just going to help us gauge knowledge, and that is it. Your name or your phone number or your email is not going to appear alongside the response. So please feel free to answer the questions. So we're going to answer, after you're done, we're going to ask our hub expert some of these questions. We'll ask him the questions so that we can hear his response. So you would have an idea whether you answered correctly or you answered wrongly, and then you can get the right answer from the hub experts. Okay, we have 66% participation, and we'll be taking down the polls in the next 10 seconds. And then we can get our answers from Dr. James Babawagetti. Okay, can you take down the poll? We had 72% participation. That is good. Well done, everyone. Good job. So I would ask Dr. James, so I'll ask him the questions, and he can give us the answer. So you would know whether you answered correctly or not. The first question says, chick mortality is a great loss to farmers.
If you say closing, I'll close for you.
Chick mortality is a great loss to farmers. True or false?
It's true.
Yes, sir. The following are causes of chick mortality, except A, overcrowding, B, inadequate drinkers and feeders, C, high and low brooding temperatures, D, vitamins, E, injuries.
Vitamins.
Except, yes, sir. So at least we know, we all know what we answered.
For that vitamin also, if there is no different vitamin, but for the purpose of culture, vitamin, but if there is no different vitamin, it can cause anything mortality, but it's okay.
Chicks should weigh less than 35 grams on the day of arrival. True or false?
That's pullet chicks. Pullet chicks.
Yes, pullet chicks.
No brainer.
True or false?
False.
Thank you, sir. The following are criteria to look out for in chicks, except chicks should stand up well. Chicks should not be dehydrated. Chicks should be alert, active, and responsive. And then chicks should be dancing. And then chicks should stand up well.
Let me see the following criteria are to look out for chicks, except chicks shall stand up. Yes, you have to look for that one. Chicks shall not be dehydrated. Yes, you have to look at it. So you not be dehydrated.
Yes.
Not,
so which of the except which one does not belong to the group?
You should not be dancing. but on
a lighter note. Yeah, thank you very much, sir. So at least we all have an idea of what we answered correctly.
I don't think that chicks should be playing.
Playing, yes, but not dancing. Thank you so much for the wonderful presentation. And we had over 100 participants initially, though it has dropped now, but I'm sure each and every one of us enjoyed the session, and we'll be bringing to you more of this interesting and enlightening session for our dear farmers. Lastly, I will give Dr. Wagetti 3 minutes. I'll give Dr. Wagetti 3 minutes to give us his expert recommendation finally, so we can all take this home. And then Dr. Usman, another, oh no, let me do it, just one minute each. Okay. We've already eaten too much into our time. So Dr. James, just 1 minute. Can you just give us your recommendation? And then Dr. Usman will also give us his in another 1 minute, and then announcement, and then we can call it a day.
Well, thank you, Dr. Tunisia, for this opportunity to me. And the only advice I will give to my fellow farmers: things are hard. Things are not easy. Poultry business is not like poultry of yesteryears. I could remember when I was farm manager, at 30% production, we are still making it in the business. But as of today, if you are a layer farmer, you are on 75% production, you cannot make it. You just be struggling. You cannot expand at all. And if you look at us today in broiler farming, the cost of the old chick is $750 as at Monday. And I did my calculation. The cheapest feed in Nigeria, I did my calculation, it costs 350 naira per kilo of broiler. What does that mean like that? The standard weight for broiler is 2 kg at 6 weeks. So to get 2 kg at 6 weeks, an average bird will consume 3.5 kg of feed. And if the cost of feed is 350 with the cheapest feed in Nigeria, because the other one is about 380, 400. But the cheapest, as of today, I did my calculation. I did it every day for my farmers. It's 350. If you multiply 350 times 3.5 kg, it's 1,225 naira. If you now add the cost of the which is 750, it's 1,950 naira. And the off-takers, they are pricing highest 1,001. That means 2 kg, a farmer will sell 2,002. And the feed and the old chicks is 1,950 naira. You didn't factor in vaccine, you didn't factor in drug, you didn't factor in your salary and your profit. So you can find out that there is no way a farmer can break even. But some farmer can still stay in the business but not making it instead of losing, is that by applying science in the business. If you do poultry business like before, you are wasting money, honestly. So I will advise farmer, apply technology in poultry business. And please, go along with professionals. Don't do it alone. And always attend programs like this. Don't say, what will I gain? What will I know? I don't care. Always seek for knowledge. That's my advice. And let me give you an example. I was crying. I went to one farm last week. The farmer called me that, Dr. Wagetti, my birds are 23 weeks. I didn't see one egg. What can I give? Which vitamin can I? I said, madam, let me come. Though I spent 4 hours because of all the negotiating in the farm. I have my scale. I weigh the birds. The birds are 23 weeks, but actually the birds, the weight is 1.3. And that 1.3, that means the birds are 60 weeks, not 23 weeks. By the time I calculate what the birds consume, that means the woman will useless feed for 7 days. After you calculate the feed, is 8.5 million, just like putting that like this. So you think poultry business is no more like before. Seek for knowledge. Ask questions. We have professionals. And we have platforms like Farmalert. We have Vetco. You have Adamo. Call us 24 hours. We can attend to you to stay in the business. Even broiler farmer, there are some of them I trained even yesterday on Zoom. About instead of 300 farmers attended my training yesterday, broiler farmer. Just how can they make even the broiler? For example, The inflection point in broiler is 1 week. It is after 1 week, you know whether you're going to make money in broiler or not. After 1 week, if you don't get the weight, forget about it. You cannot make money in broiler. Take it or leave it after 1 week. So because the standard weight of broiler is 40 grams, it is expected that after 1 week, broiler should weigh 180 grams. That means the formula is the initial weight a day old times 4.5, that's 180. Broiler is supposed to grow 5 times its weight after 1 week. That's the formula. So what we are telling farmers now is that if you try to get 180 grams after 1 week, make sure you do the brooding very well. If you get 190, that 10 gram difference is like 70 grams free at slaughter. And that's why you make your money. So thank you all for listening. I can't hear you there.
Thank you very much for that wonderful advice. So you heard, if there is one thing I heard is that broiler farming, poultry farming is not what it used to be.
Honestly.
You have to make sure you know what you're doing. Imagine somebody losing 8.5 million in this very hard time. Something that could have been avoided if she had done the right thing. So please make sure you do the right thing. The economy is not smiling at anyone.
Yes, sir. I just read in the chat box. A person has a pullet. They ask question. The pullets that are 27 weeks and they are weighing 690 grams. That person, if you calculate, it's a loss.
Loss, a very big loss.
If a bird at 27 weeks, of which they are supposed to be the peak of 1.92 kg, and now we are talking of 609 grams, that's like 7 weeks, they're not even 8 weeks. I think it's better to just call the bird. Those birds can never perform. But I don't know, maybe small one or all of them, I don't know. So these are issues that we have to, veterinarians are cheap. I've done a research, I have a book I've wrote. The cost of drug, the cost of vaccine, the cost of veterinary charge is less than 2% in poultry business. If you are going over 2%, that's bad management. And this veterinarian or poultry expert, even animal science or HNDO, when I say veterinarian, I'm not just say only let the poultry expert so that I will not be selfish as a veterinarian. So a poultry expert plus vaccine plus drug is less than 2% in poultry business. But farmers want to do it the way they want to do it. And these are your only insurance in poultry business.
Very well, sir. Very well, sir. Dr. Usman Omar, the next 1 minute to give your own recommendation and advice, take home notes, and we can call it a day.
Let me congratulate Farmalert on this kind of topical issues, because we need to bring farmers together to start asking questions, because that is what will put the hatcheries on their toes to do the right things and to be able to maintain standards. You know, we should be asking questions. We should be able to, as a class, as a group, be able to reject some of the things that are done. We should leave this gathering now, agreeing that we are going to set standards, because if we all agree that a pullet should not be less than 35 grams. So if a pullet is delivered to you and it's 22, 23, 24 grams, what do you do with if you have your proof? You know, so these are the sort of things that the farmer union should start looking at and finding a way to address. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Usman Omar. My dear farmers, it's been an interesting 2 hours, 15 minutes, and I hope each and every one of you have learned something new to go back home and implement. Take out all the wrong things you're doing and implement, add science to your practice. Add science to your practice. Avoid blind diagnosis, avoid blind businesses. You have to be good first as a farmer, and then second as a business owner. Nobody goes into business to make loss. We all go into businesses to make profit. And that is what is the most important part of being a business owner, profitability. You can't do business and keep running at loss. It doesn't add up. Thank you once again. And we'll be bringing another session for farmers very soon. The peak period is coming. December is closed, so we need to have a session like this to discuss important topics around mostly, let me say, broiler production, because it's that time of the year. It's almost that time of the year. So stay tuned and expect something interesting from us very soon. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful day. Bye, everyone.
Yeah, bye. Oh my God. Oh, thank you, Jesus.
Well done, sir.
Well done, man. You are doing a good job. Keep it up.
Thank you, sir. You're like the high priest of poultry business.